The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and false hope. I remember that more than anything else, that sharp, chemical smell that seemed to cling to everything, including the flowers my husband Marcus had sent to my recovery room. Pink roses, my favorite, with a card that read, "You saved my life. I'll spend the rest of mine making sure you know it." I believed him. That was my first mistake. The surgery had been 6 weeks earlier. Marcus's kidneys had been failing for years, the result of a genetic condition his family had tried to pretend didn't exist. We'd been married for 11 years when the doctors told us he needed a transplant. I didn't hesitate. I was a match. Of course I was a match. We'd always joked that we were made for each other, and now the tests proved it. "You don't have to do this," Marcus had said, holding my hand in the nephrologist's office. His eyes were tired, ringed with the kind of exhaustion that comes from months of dialysis and diminishing hope. "It's a major surgery. There are risks." "I know," I said. "That's why I'm doing it." He cried then, the first time I'd seen him cry since his mother's funeral. I held him in that sterile office and promised him everything would be fine. I promised him we'd grow old together, that this was just a detour on our long road. I made promises I should have known he couldn't keep. The transplant was a success. Marcus's body accepted my kidney with almost no complications. Within 2 weeks, his color returned. Within a month, he was talking about going back to work, getting his life back, reclaiming the career he'd put on hold while his body betrayed him. I encouraged every word. "You deserve this," I told him. "You've suffered enough. Go live again." I didn't know then that living again meant living without me. The first sign should have been obvious, but love makes you blind to patterns you don't want to see. Marcus started working late. At first, it was understandable. He'd been gone for over a year, and his architecture firm had a backlog of projects. Then the late nights became weekends. Then his phone became something he guarded like a state secret. "You're being paranoid," my sister Claire told me when I confided my suspicions. "The man just survived kidney failure. He's probably trying to prove he's still capable." "He's distant," I said. "He barely looks at me anymore. Give him time." Adjustments like this, they take time. Time. Everyone told me to give it time. So I did. I gave him 3 months of silence while he rebuilt his career. I gave him 6 months of patience while he found himself again. I gave him a year of pretending I didn't notice the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his new boss, Vivian Cross. Vivian was everything I wasn't. She was tall, elegant, with silver-streaked hair she wore in a sleek bob, and the kind of confidence that came from inheriting a fortune and doubling it. She'd hired Marcus 6 months after his transplant, headhunting him from a smaller firm with promises of creative freedom and a partnership track. I'd met her once at a company holiday party and felt instantly diminished. "Your husband is brilliant," she'd said, shaking my hand with cool efficiency. "We're lucky to have him." "He's lucky to have you," I'd replied, trying to match her polished tone. She'd smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Later that night, I'd caught Marcus staring at her across the room, with an expression I couldn't quite name. I told myself it was gratitude. I told myself she'd saved his career, and he was just appreciative. I told myself a lot of things back then. The day everything shattered was unremarkable. A Tuesday. Overcast. I'd taken the afternoon off from my job as a high school English teacher to meet Marcus for lunch. I'd wanted to surprise him, to rekindle something I felt slipping through my fingers. I'd brought his favorite sandwich from the deli near his office, the one with the roasted vegetables and the spicy aioli he loved. I didn't call ahead. That was my second mistake. The receptionist at his firm knew me by sight. "He's in a meeting," she said, glancing at her computer screen. "But I can let him know you're here." "It's okay," I said. "I'll wait." I sat in the sleek waiting area, surrounded by architectural models and design magazines, watching the minutes tick by. After 30 minutes, I asked if I could just pop in quickly to drop off the sandwich. The receptionist hesitated, then nodded. "Conference room B." "But he might be on a call." I walked down the hallway, past the glass-walled offices where young architects hunched over blueprints. Conference room B was at the end, its blinds partially drawn. I could see two figures inside. Marcus, his back to me, and Vivian facing him. She was laughing at something he'd said, her hand resting on his arm. I watched, frozen, as Marcus reached up and covered her hand with his. Then he leaned forward and kissed her. Not a peck. Not the kind of quick professional kiss that might be excused in a moment of excitement. This was a kiss that had been building for months, years maybe. This was a kiss that belonged to lovers. I dropped the sandwich. The sound of it hitting the floor must have carried because Marcus turned. His face went pale. Vivian looked at me with something I can only describe as mild annoyance, as if I were an inconvenience rather than a wife. "Maya," Marcus said. His voice cracked. "Maya, I can explain." I didn't wait. I turned and walked out of the building, past the startled receptionist, through the revolving doors, and onto the street where the February wind cut through my coat like a blade. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just walked, block after block, until I reached the park where Marcus and I had once fed breadcrumbs to the ducks on our first anniversary. That was the moment I finally let myself feel it. The betrayal. The years I'd spent nursing him through dialysis, holding his hand during sleepless nights, cooking bland meals he could actually eat, and then giving him a piece of my own body to save his life. And this was how he repaid me. Not with gratitude. Not with loyalty. With Vivian Cross and her sleek bob and her hand on his arm, I went home that night and waited. Marcus came in at 11, his face a mask of guilt and desperation. He'd been crying, his eyes red-rimmed, his voice hoarse. "Maya, please. Let me explain." "Explain what?" I asked, my voice flat. "Explain how you've been sleeping with your boss? It's not like that. It's exactly like that. I saw you. I saw your tongue in her mouth." He flinched. "I never meant to hurt you." "Then why did you?" He had no answer for that. He stood in our living room, the living room we decorated together, surrounded by photographs of our life, and he had nothing to say. Finally, he whispered, "I'm sorry." Sorry isn't enough. I know. I know? He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. It started after the transplant. When I went back to work, I felt like a new person, like I'd been given a second chance at life. And Vivian, she saw that. She saw me. She saw a man who was vulnerable and grateful and easy to manipulate. It wasn't like that. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. "And what about me?" I asked, my voice rising for the first time. "Who believed in you when you were dying in a hospital bed? Who held your hand while they stuck needles in your veins? Who donated a fucking kidney so you could live? He looked at me then, really looked, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Shame. Not guilt, not regret, but shame. The kind that comes from knowing you've done something unforgivable and can never take it back. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said quietly. But I need you to understand. I'm not the same person I was before the illness. I can't be. I need something different now. Something more. More than me? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. The divorce papers came 3 months later. Marcus didn't fight me on anything. He gave me the house, the car, the savings, and custody of our elderly cat, Sherlock. He signed everything with a quiet resignation that made me want to scream. I wanted him to fight. I wanted him to prove he still cared. Instead, he just folded, like paper left in the rain. I found out later that Vivian had been paying his legal fees. She'd also been helping him find a new apartment, a sleek place downtown where they could start their new life together. New life. Like the 11 years we'd shared, meant nothing. Like the kidney I'd given him was just a transaction, a debt he was eager to repay and forget. The day the divorce was finalized, I went to the hospital for my annual transplant follow-up. My doctor, a kind woman named Dr. Patel, reviewed my labs and smiled. Everything looks great. Your kidney is functioning perfectly. Good, I said. At least one of my organs is still loyal. She looked at me with sympathy. She knew what had happened. Everyone knew. The story had spread through our social circle like wildfire, the wife who'd given her husband a kidney, only to have him leave her for his boss. People shook their heads and said how tragic it was. People who'd once envied our marriage now pitied me. I hated that. I hated being the object of their whispered sympathy almost as much as I hated Marcus for making me one. For months after the divorce, I lived in a fog. I went to work, graded papers, made dinner for one, and stared at the walls of our empty house. The house that had once been full of plans and promises. The house where Marcus and I had talked about children we never had. The house where I'd nursed him back to health, only to watch him walk away. Claire was my anchor during those dark months. She came over every weekend, bringing wine and takeout, and demanding I talk about my feelings whether I wanted to or not. You're not going to heal if you keep bottling everything up, she said one Saturday, pointing her chopsticks at me accusingly. I'm not bottling anything up. I'm processing. Processing is not the same as withdrawing. You've barely left the house in weeks. I've been to work. Work doesn't count. That's just going through the motions. She leaned forward, her eyes intense. What are you going to do, Maya? Are you going to let him win? Win? He didn't win. He lost everything. Our marriage. Our future. His integrity. But he has her. The shiny new life. The new apartment. The promotion he got because he was sleeping with the boss. Vivian was already his boss. The promotion was just a cover. Doesn't matter. He got what he wanted. He got her and he got ahead, and you got a scar and a pile of divorce papers. I didn't have an answer for that. She was right. Marcus had moved on with his life, while I was still standing in the wreckage of ours. He was happy, or at least pretending to be. And I was just existing. He's not happy, Claire said, as if reading my thoughts. People who are genuinely happy don't have to stage elaborate social media posts proving it. Have you seen his Instagram? I don't follow him. Good. But I do. And let me tell you, nothing screams I'm miserable and trying to convince myself otherwise like a 45-year-old man posting thirst traps from his new gym. I almost laughed. Almost. I don't care what he posts. I don't care what he does. He's not my problem anymore. That's the spirit. Claire raised her glass. To moving on. We drank. I didn't feel better, but at least I felt something. The turning point came 6 months after the divorce. I was alone in the house grading essays on The Great Gatsby when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Maya? The voice was familiar, but I couldn't place it. Who is this? It's Vivian. Vivian Cross. The name hit me like a physical blow. My heart started racing. Why are you calling me? I need to talk to you. It's about Marcus. I don't want to talk about Marcus. I know. I know you don't. But please. Just hear me out. There was something in her voice I'd never heard before. Fear. The polished, confident Vivian was afraid. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. We met at a coffee shop near the hospital where Marcus and I had spent so many months. Vivian looked different. Her sleek bob was gone, replaced by hair that looked like she'd been pulling at it. Her makeup was minimal, almost absent. She was wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer armor. Thank you for coming, she said, her voice small. Why am I here? She took a deep breath. Marcus is sick again. What? The transplant. It's failing. His body is rejecting the kidney. I felt the world tilt. That's not possible. The doctors said the match was perfect. They said the rejection risk was minimal. I know. But sometimes these things happen. The body just decides it doesn't want the new organ. How long has this been going on? Months. He didn't want to tell you. He didn't want you to know he was sick again. But I couldn't let him go through this alone without telling you. She looked down at her hands. He needs another transplant. Then find another donor. There's no one. His family isn't a match. His friends have been tested, but none of them are compatible. And She swallowed hard. I'm not a match either. Something cold settled in my stomach. Why are you telling me this? She looked at me then, and I saw the desperation behind her eyes. Because you are. You're the only one who is. And you already gave him one. They can do another one. It's more complicated, but it's possible. You could save his life again. I stared at her. My body was shaking with a rage I hadn't felt since the day I'd watched them kiss. You want me to give him another kidney? The man who threw me away like garbage. The man who cheated on me, left me, and married you? He didn't marry me. We're not married. That's what you care about? The semantics? No. No, that's not what I care about. Tears were streaming down her face now. I know what I did was unforgivable. I know I ruined your marriage. I know I was the other woman. And I know I have no right to ask you for anything. But Marcus is dying, and I don't know what else to do. I stood up. I couldn't sit there another minute. You don't get to ask me this. Not after everything. Not after, Maya, please. I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for him. The man you once loved. The man you promised to love in sickness and in health. I know he broke that promise. I know he broke your heart. But does that mean he deserves to die? I walked out of the coffee shop without answering. I walked all the way home, the February cold cutting through my jacket, and I didn't feel a thing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Vivian's words over and over in my head. He's dying. Does he deserve to die? My kidney, the one I'd given out of love, was failing inside him. My gift was dying, and he was dying with it. Part of me felt a vicious satisfaction at the thought. He'd taken my love, my trust, my body, and my future. Now he was losing it all. But another part of me, the part that had once loved him, was drowning in guilt. I'd made a vow. In sickness and in health. He'd broken his vow, but that didn't mean I had to break mine. Did it? Was my obligation to him ended by his betrayal, or was love supposed to be bigger than that? I thought about Marcus's face when he'd told me he loved me. I thought about the way he'd cried when I agreed to the first transplant. I thought about the years we'd shared, the good years, before illness and ambition and Vivian had torn us apart. I thought about the man he used to be, the man I'd married, the man I'd believed in. I thought about the woman I'd become. The bitter, angry woman who couldn't even look at a kidney-shaped anything without feeling a surge of rage. The woman who spent her weekends alone, refusing invitations from friends because she couldn't bear to see their pity. The woman who'd built a fortress around herself and called it healing. Was this who I wanted to be? A person who let hate define her? A person who'd let someone else die because they'd hurt her? The next morning, I called my doctor. Doctor. Patel was supportive but honest. The surgery is possible, Maya. But it's more complicated this time. There's a higher risk of complications, both for you and for him. And I can't pretend there's no emotional cost here. You're not the same person you were when you made the first donation. He's not the same person either. I know, I said. But I can't let him die. Why? It was a simple question. And for a moment, I didn't have an answer. Why? Because I still loved him. Because I wasn't sure I did. Because he didn't deserve my mercy. Because maybe no one deserved anything, and the only thing that mattered was what kind of person I wanted to be. Because I don't want to be the kind of person who lets someone die out of spite, I said finally. Because if I let him die, that hate lives in me forever, and I'm tired of carrying it. Patel nodded. I understand, but I need you to understand the risks. There's a chance you won't come through this as healthy as you did before. There's a chance your remaining kidney could be damaged. There's a chance you could end up needing dialysis yourself. I know. And I need you to talk to someone about the emotional implications. A therapist. Someone who can help you process whatever happens. I will. She looked at me for a long moment. You're a remarkable person, Maya. I don't know if I would be as strong as you. I almost laughed. I'm not strong. I'm just tired of being weak. The testing took weeks. I went through the same battery of tests I'd endured 3 years earlier. The same blood work and scans and consultations. This time, there was no Marcus holding my hand. This time, I sat in the waiting room alone, surrounded by couples and families, feeling like an outsider in my own life. Vivian called every few days. I stopped answering. I didn't want to hear her voice, didn't want to hear her gratitude. I wasn't doing this for her. I wasn't doing this for Marcus. I was doing it for myself, for the woman I wanted to become, the woman I'd lost somewhere along the way. Marcus called once. I almost didn't answer. Maya? His voice was weak, thinner than I remember. Please don't hang up. I'm not going to hang up. You're really doing this? You're really going to save my life again? I'm going to try. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you. No. You don't. I paused. But I'm not doing it because you deserve it. I'm doing it because I don't want to be the person who let you die. He was silent for a long moment. Then he started to cry. Not the controlled tears he'd shed after the first transplant, but ugly, gasping sobs that cracked through the phone. I'm so sorry, he said. I'm so sorry for everything. For Vivian. For the way I left. For the way I made you feel like you didn't matter. You mattered, Maya. You were everything. And I was too stupid, too selfish, too broken to see it. You're broken now, more than I've ever been. His voice was raw. I thought Vivian was my second chance. I thought she was the person I needed to become. But I was wrong. She was just running away. From myself. From the person I'd become. From the fact that I couldn't look at you without remembering everything you'd given me and everything I'd thrown away. I didn't know what to say. So I just listened. I don't expect you to forgive me, he continued. I know I don't deserve that. But I need you to know that I loved you. I never stopped loving you. I didn't know how to be grateful. I didn't know how to accept that someone could give me so much, and I could never give it back. It wasn't about giving back, I said. That's not what love is. I know that now. I know it too late. I closed my eyes. Marcus, I can't do this. I can't go into surgery carrying your guilt. I need you to let go of this. Let go of the guilt, the shame, everything. Just let it go. Can you let go of it? I have to. If I don't, I'll carry it forever. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then very quietly he said, I love you, Maya. I never deserved you. But I love you. I love you too, I said. And I realized as the words left my mouth that I meant it. Not the romantic love I'd once felt, but something deeper. The love you feel for someone who was once your home, even if you can't live there anymore. The love you feel for the person they were, and the person they might have been. The surgery was scheduled for a Thursday. I took a leave of absence from work. Claire drove me to the hospital, her face pale with barely contained anxiety. You don't have to do this, she said for the 100th time. I do. No, you don't. You can still walk away. You can let him deal with the consequences of his own choices. He's going to die, Claire. And people die. People die every day. Does he deserve special treatment just because he was once your husband? He's not just my ex-husband. He's the man I loved. The man I made promises to. I can't just forget that. Claire was quiet for a long time. Then she reached over and squeezed my hand. You're a better person than me. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to be the person I want to be. You already are that person, Maya. You always were. You just forgot. I didn't argue. I let her words settle into my chest, warm and comforting, a small anchor in the chaos of my thoughts. The surgery was successful. Both of us came through it without major complications. When I woke up in the recovery room, groggy and disoriented, the first thing I saw was Claire's face. He's okay, she said before I could ask. The kidney's working. I nodded, too exhausted to feel relief. Good. Vivian was waiting in the hallway when they moved me to a private room. She looked haggard, circles under her eyes, her elegant composure completely shattered. Thank you, she said, her voice breaking. Thank you for saving him. I didn't have the energy to be gracious. I didn't do it for you. I know. I know you didn't. She stepped closer, her hands clasped in front of her like a supplicant. I also know that I can never make up for what I did. But I want you to know that I've ended things with Marcus. I ended it before the surgery. I told him I couldn't be with someone who had to be saved by the woman he betrayed. It wasn't fair to him, and it wasn't fair to you. I stared at her, too weak to process her words as, why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that I'm trying to be better. I know it's not enough. I know it doesn't change anything. But I'm trying. I closed my eyes. I don't need you to try. I just need you to leave me alone. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Of course. Of course. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She left. I didn't watch her go. Marcus visited me 3 days later. He was still weak, still pale, but there was color in his cheeks that hadn't been there before. He stood in the doorway of my room, hesitant, uncertain. Can I come in? Sure. He walked to the chair beside my bed and sat down slowly, carefully, like a man afraid of breaking something. How are you feeling? Sore. Tired? Really? Me too. He looked at his hands. Maya, I don't know how to thank you. There aren't words big enough. Then don't try. He nodded. Okay. I won't. We sat in silence for a while. The quiet between us was different now. Less heavy. Less accusatory. It was almost peaceful. I've been thinking, he said finally. About everything. About who I was and who I want to be. Who do you want to be? Someone worthy of what you gave me. Both times. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine. I know I can't go back. I know I can't undo what I did. But I can try to be better. Not for you. For me. Because if I don't, your sacrifice means nothing. It doesn't matter what it means, it just matters that you live. Why? Why do you care so much? I thought about his question for a long time. Why did I care? After everything he'd done, why couldn't I just walk away and let him face the consequences? Because, I said slowly, I made a promise. In sickness and in health. You broke your promise, but that doesn't mean I have to break mine. But you're not married to me anymore. No. But I'm married to myself, and the person I want to be doesn't let people die out of spite. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he started to cry again, quiet tears that slipped down his cheeks without a sound. I love you, he said. I never stopped. And I never will. I know, I said. But it's not enough. I know. We sat together in the hospital room, two strangers who'd once been everything to each other, and we let the silence hold us. Healing didn't happen all at once. It came in waves, in small moments of grace and forgiveness and letting go. I went back to work. I started taking walks in the park again. I began to accept invitations from friends, to laugh at Claire's terrible jokes, to feel something other than anger and grief. Marcus didn't try to win me back. He didn't have to. We both knew that chapter was closed. But he stayed in my life in a small way. We'd have coffee sometimes. We'd talk about books or movies or the latest architectural scandal. We never talked about the future. We never talked about Vivian. She left the firm 6 months later. I heard through the grapevine that she'd moved to Europe, taking a job with an international design company. I didn't ask for details. I didn't care. She was just another ghost from a past I was trying to leave behind. One evening, about a year after the second transplant, Marcus and I met for our usual coffee. He looked healthy. Really healthy. His color was good, his energy was back, and there was a lightness to him I hadn't seen in years. I have something to tell you, he said almost shyly. What? I've started seeing someone. Her name is Elena. She's a doctor. A nephrologist, actually. I couldn't help but laugh. A kidney specialist. I know. I know. It's a little on the nose. He grinned. But she's wonderful. She's kind. She's patient. And she doesn't care about my past. She just cares about who I am now. That's great, Marcus. I'm happy for you. Are you? Really, really? I want you to be happy. I always did. He reached across the table and took my hand. I want the same for you. I hope you find someone who deserves you. Who doesn't need a transplant to prove he loves you. I hope so too. We sat there, hands touching, strangers and friends and something in between. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt at peace. That was the moment I realized the truth. I'd spent so long thinking about what Marcus had taken from me. My kidney. My trust. My future. But what I hadn't realized was what he'd given me. A chance to choose. A chance to be the person I wanted to be, not the person I'd become. A chance to forgive. Forgiving Marcus wasn't the same as forgetting. It wasn't the same as trusting him again or wanting him back. It was just letting go of the weight I'd been carrying, the weight of anger and betrayal and grief. It was choosing to move forward instead of standing still. I don't know what happened to Marcus and Elena. I hope they're happy. I hope he became the man he wanted to be, the man he deserved to be. I hope Vivian found peace in Europe, far from the wreckage of the life she'd tried to steal. As for me, I'm okay. I'm more than okay. I'm free. People sometimes ask me if I regret the donation. The first one, the one that started everything. The answer is no. I don't regret it. That kidney saved his life. It gave him a second chance. What he did with that second chance was his choice. What I did with mine was my own. Regret is a luxury I can't afford. What happened happened. I can't change it. I can't undo it. All I can do is keep moving forward, keep choosing to be the person I want to be, keep holding on to the love I have for myself. Because in the end, the only person you can truly save is yourself. And I saved myself. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done if you had been in Maya's place? Would you have donated the kidney again, or would you have walked away? Share your perspective in the comments. And if you enjoy stories about resilience, forgiveness, and the complicated nature of love, please consider subscribing and joining us for the next journey